The best-selling pore primer at the drugstore lists 12 ingredients. 4 of them are silicone or silica. The 4th one is a resin, and the company that manufactures that resin describes the film it leaves as hard and brittle at room temperature. That resin is what makes your pores disappear at 8 in the morning. It is also what makes your foundation crack at noon. Your foundation is not splitting because you used the wrong sponge, or because your skin is oily, or because you did not set it fast enough. It is splitting because of the layer underneath it. There is a 4-minute test that tells you which primer in your drawer is doing this, and it runs on the back of your hand. 6 primers fail it. 3 do not. Product number 1. Smashbox, the original photo finish smooth and blur primer. Smashbox was founded in 1996 by Dean and Davis Factor, the great-grandsons of Max Factor, in a photography studio in Culver City. The Estee Lauder companies announced the acquisition in May 2010 and completed it that July. Terms were never disclosed. Women's Wear Daily reported that its sources put the number between $200 and $300 million. Retail is $35 for the 1-ounce tube. Here is the formula in printed order. Cyclopentasiloxane, Dimethicone, Dimethicone cross-polymer, trisiloxane, silica. 5 ingredients, and there is no water anywhere in the list. Not further down. Not at all. The first ingredient is a volatile silicone. It evaporates off the skin within about 90 seconds, which is a slip the customer feels while she is applying it. What stays behind is dimethicone and silica, and that residue is a cured silicone film. The measured surface energy of a silicone film is between 19 and 27 millijoules per square meter. The surface tension of water is about 72. A water-based foundation applied over that film is being asked to spread on a surface with roughly 1/3 of its own surface energy. It does not spread. It beads. And when a sponge presses on the beads, they roll. The customer sees small gray rolls of product lifting off her cheek and concludes her foundation is old. Her foundation is fine. It is meeting a surface it cannot wet. The brand's own product page lists, as a feature, a smooth, non-pilling formula. That claim is accurate about the primer by itself. It says nothing about the primer with a water-based foundation on top of it, and the page does not have to because nobody has ever required a primer to declare what it is compatible with. Product number 2. Benefit, the POR Professional Face Primer. Benefit began in 1976 as a tiny shop in San Francisco called The Face Place, opened by the twins Jean and Jane Ford. It carried that name for about 15 years. LVMH acquired the company in 1999. Retail is $36 for 3/4 of an ounce. The ingredient list opens the same way as the first one. Cyclopentasiloxane, dimethicone, dimethicone and vinyl dimethicone cross-polymer, isononyl isononanoate, silica, dimethicone cross-polymer, isododecane. Again, no water. Then, at position 9, polymethyl methacrylate. Polymethyl methacrylate is acrylic. In a primer, it is used as spheres a few microns across, and the spheres are what is the blurring. They sit in the pore, they scatter light sideways instead of letting it fall into the hole, and the pore stops reading as a shadow. The effect is real, and it is instant. The problem is what the customer then puts on top of it. Acrylic spheres suspended in a silicone film are 2 non-polar surfaces. A water-based foundation bonds to neither. It sits on top as a separate layer, and 2 separate layers are exactly what separation means. Blurring at 8, sliding at 12. The same spheres do both. Product number 3. NYX Professional Makeup Pore Filler. NYX was created in 1999 by Tony Ko, who named it after the Greek goddess of the night. L'Oreal agreed to acquire the brand in June 2014. That price was never disclosed either. Retail is $15. This formula is 12 ingredients long. Dimethicone cross-polymer, silica, dimethicone, trimethylsiloxylicate, glycerin, alumina. The first 4 are silicone and silica, and the 4th one is worth stopping on. Trimethylsiloxylicate is a silicone resin, and it is the ingredient that makes transfer-proof lipstick transfer-proof. It is a hard film. That is not an outside assessment. The suppliers who sell the raw material describe the film as hard and brittle at room temperature, and they sell plasticizers alongside it, specifically so that formulators can soften it enough to be comfortable on skin. Skin moves about 25%. That figure comes from an in vivo study that measured skin surface strain across a joint, and 25% is a routine, ordinary movement, not an extreme one. So a brittle film is being stretched a quarter past its own length every time the wearer speaks. Something has to give, and it is not the face. There are three things happening under a foundation that splits. Only one of them is the one people talk about. The first is wetting. A liquid spreads on a surface only when the surface pulls harder than the liquid's own skin does. Water pulls at about 72. Cured silicone sits at about 20. That gap is not a subtlety, it is a factor of 3, and it is why water beads on a waxed car instead of sheeting off it. Your face at 8 in the morning is the waxed car. The second is the one almost nobody checks, and it is the reason people buy the same problem twice. The first ingredient on a primer does not tell you what kind of film it leaves. An emulsion has an inside and an outside, and the foundation only ever touches the outside. What decides which is outside is the emulsifier. If the list contains Cetyl PEG PPG 10-1 Dimethicone, the manufacturer of that raw material sells it as an emulsifier for water in oil and water-in-silicone systems. Water inside, silicone outside. The word water can sit at position 1 on the label and never once touch the face. The third is time, and it is the reason this is a noon problem rather than an 8 in the morning problem. Adult skin secretes about 1 milligram of sebum per 10 square centimeters every 3 hours. That is not a flaw, and it cannot be argued with. By lunchtime, the face has delivered a fresh layer of oil underneath everything applied on top of it, and a rigid film that has been stretched 25% a few thousand times is now being lifted from below as well. And then there is the explanation that imitates all three because it uses the same words. Oxidation. Oxidation is real. It is a color change, where a foundation turns orange over several hours as pigments and oils meet air and skin. It is not a structural change. If the makeup has gone darker, but is still one continuous layer, that is oxidation. If it has gone the same color but is now in pieces, that is not oxidation, and no amount of shade matching will fix it. Color problem or a structure problem. They have different causes, and the industry is happy to let them share a word. Here is the test, and it costs 4 minutes. Take the primer you already own. Put a stripe of it across a knuckle on the back of your hand, not on the flat of your hand. The knuckle matters. Skin crossing a joint takes about the same strain your face takes when you smile, which is the 25% figure from earlier, so it is the only part of your hand that tells the truth. Wait 90 seconds. That is long enough for the volatile silicone to evaporate, and whatever is left on your skin at 90 seconds is what your foundation will actually meet. Now put your foundation over it exactly as you would on your face. Wait 2 minutes. Then make a fist, open it, and do that 3 times. 3 things can happen. The product rolls into small pellets before you have even made a fist. That is the wetting failure. Your foundation and your primer are on opposite sides of the water and silicone line. The film cracks into flakes along the crease of a knuckle. That is the rigidity failure. The film former is too hard to move with skin. Or it stretches, stays whole, and looks the same at the end as it did at the start. That film can live on a face. And once you have run it, you will not be able to stop noticing it. You will see it on other people at about 2 in the afternoon in the line at the smile, where the film is broken and the skin underneath is showing through in a thin, bright stripe. If you are the kind of person who would rather test the thing than be told about it, this channel is built for you. Everything here is run on the back of a hand before it is said out loud. Product number 4. Tarte, Timeless Smoothing Primer. Tarte was founded in 2000 by Maureen Kelly. In March 2014, the Japanese company Koz acquired 93.5% of the business for $135 million. Kelly stayed on to run it. Retail is $42. The list opens cyclopentasiloxane, dimethicone, and vinyl dimethicone cross-polymer, hydrogenated vegetable oil, penterythritol tetraisostirate, vinyl dimethicone, and methicone silsesquioxane cross-polymer, mica, distilled ammonium hectorite, and hydrosilicone again, and then 2 ingredients that change the character of the film. Hydrogenated vegetable oil is a hardened fat, solid at room temperature. Distilled ammonium hectorite is a clay used to hold everything in suspension. Together, they take a silicone film and make it thicker and stiffer, which is what produces the smoothing the name promises. Stiffer film, smoother surface, less movement. Those are the same sentence. One more thing the buyer should know. Shoppers have reported being told by counter staff that this product is discontinued while the brand's own website continued to sell it. Check before ordering. A primer that is halfway out of the catalog is not a primer to build a routine on. Product number 5. LF Cosmetics, por el Spati Primer. LF launched on the 19th of June, 2004 in New York with 13 products, every one of them $1. The name is eyes, lips, face. The company went public on the New York Stock Exchange in September 2016 at $15 a share and rose about 41% on the first day. Retail on this primer is $10. And here the label does the trick that the education block warned about. The first ingredient is water. The second is cyclopentasiloxane. The third is sericin, which is a wax. Further down there is rice bran wax. There is talc, there is trimethylsiloxylicate, the brittle resin from product 3, and at position 11 there is lauryl PEG 10 tris, trimethylsiloxysiloethyl dimethicone. That last one is a silicone emulsifier. Its job is to hold water inside a silicone phase. So the water at position 1 is on the inside, and the surface this primer leaves on a face is silicone, wax, and talc. $10 is a fair price for what it is. What it is a putty. And a putty is not a base for a water-based foundation. Product number 6.
Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Instant Retour Primer.
Fenty Beauty launched on the 8th of September 2017 in 1,600 stores across 17 countries on a single day. It is a joint venture, 50-50, between Rihanna and Kendo, which is LVMH's beauty incubator. Retail is $36. This is the clearest example in the whole category, so read the list slowly. Aqua, water, then dimethicone, then isododecane, then glycerin, then, at position 5, Cetyl PEG PPG 10-1 dimethicone. Position 1 says water. Position 5 decides that the water is on the inside. That fifth ingredient is sold by its manufacturer as a water-in-oil and water-in-silicone emulsifier, and its entire purpose in a formula is to hold water droplets suspended inside a silicone continuous phase. The customer reads water first and buys it as a hydrating base. What lands on her skin is a silicone surface with water locked underneath it, plus polymethylsilsesquioxane and nylon 12, both of which are powders for blurring. Then she puts a water-based foundation on top of a silicone surface and spends the afternoon wondering what she did wrong. She did nothing wrong. She read the first ingredient, which is what everybody is told to do. 6 primers. 6 formulations that leave a silicone, wax, or resin surface. 2 of them print water as their first ingredient and still do it. None of these products is defective. Every one of them does the thing on the front of the box. The pores blur, the surface smooths, the shine stops. Not one of them is being dishonest about the 8 in the morning result. The dishonesty, such as it is, sits in what nobody prints. No primer carton in this category tells the buyer which kind of foundation it is compatible with, even though the entire performance of the product depends on it, and even though the formulator knew the answer before the product had a name. So here is the useful half. A primer that keeps foundation intact does 2 things. It leaves water on the outside, and it leaves a film that can stretch a quarter of its own length without breaking. There are 3 on this list. The cheapest one costs $10. The first is ELF's Power Grip Primer, $10. The full list is water, butylene glycol, glycerin, PEG 150 distearate, polysorbate 80, niacinamide, 3 plant waters, sodium hyaluronate. Read the whole thing, and there is not one silicone in it. Not a dimethicone, not a cross-polymer, not a resin. The gripping is done by PEG 150 distearate, which is a thickener that turns tacky as its water evaporates. That tack is not a gimmick. It is a water-continuous surface staying slightly open, so a water-based foundation mixes into the top of it rather than resting on it. 1 layer instead of 2. On the knuckle it stretches and stays whole. And it is $10, which is a quarter of what product 1 costs. The second is Milk Makeup's Hydro Grip Hydrating Primer, $38. Milk Makeup launched in February 2016 out of Milk Studios in New York. Since July 2022, it has been owned by Waldencast, which is listed on the NASDAQ. Aloe leaf water first, then water, glycerin, PEG 150 distearate. Water outside, unambiguously. The film formers here are PVP and polyolin, and both of them are flexible polymers rather than hard resins, which is the difference between a film that moves with a smile and one that splits along it. One honest caveat, because it matters for some people. Alcohol denat is the 5th ingredient. That is what makes it flash off so quickly and feel dry within seconds, and on skin that is already tight it will be felt. It is not hidden, it is printed 5th, but it is worth knowing before spending $38. The third is Too Faced Hangover Replenishing Face Primer, $37 at Ulta and $34 at Sephora, which is worth checking before ordering. Too Faced was founded in 1998. In November 2016, the Estée Lauder companies acquired it for approximately $1.45 billion, the largest acquisition in that company's history. The list runs water, a willow bark ferment, propanediol dicaprolate, propanediol, cetyl-6 olivate. That fifth ingredient is the tel again, but in the opposite direction. It is an oil-in-water emulsifier. Oil inside, water outside. The film formers are cellulose gum, pectin, and a polyacrylate, which are the same family of flexible polymers used to thicken food. There is no silicone in the formula at all. It is the most expensive product on the good list, and it costs more than 3 of the 6 products it beats, which is worth saying plainly rather than pretending that price tracks performance. Run the numbers on a single mistake. The primer costs $35. The foundation on top of it costs somewhere around $40. Neither is faulty, and together they fail by lunchtime, so the buyer replaces the foundation first, because the foundation is what she can see going wrong. That is another $40, and it fails the same way because the surface underneath it has not changed. $75 spent to solve a problem that a $10 primer solves, and 4 minutes on the back of a hand would have identified before either purchase. The most expensive item in this category is not any single product. It is the assumption that 2 things that work separately will work together.
So, the test. Primeo na nukla.
90 seconds. Foundation on top. 2 minutes. Then make a fist 3 times, and look at what the film did. Pellets means the wrong base pairing. Cracks means the film is too rigid. Hole means you can stop shopping. Run it on the primer already in your drawer before you buy a replacement, because there is a real chance the primer is fine, and the pairing is not. Tell me in the comments which one yours did, and name the primer. Pellets or cracks. That comment section is going to be more useful than any list I can write because it will cover the 200 products this video did not. If this was useful, the video on foundations that turn orange by lunch is the color half of the same problem, and the one on setting powders that flash back in every photo is what happens when the layer on top is wrong instead of the layer underneath. Face meter. We read the label, so you do not have to.